support you as much as possible. Like I said, I come from kind of an interesting background. Prior to joining the Department of Ed, I worked for Iowa Workforce Development, and then prior to that, I was in the private sector doing kind of account management, project management. So I've kind of dabbled in a lot of different areas, and one of my kind of passion areas is really the community partnerships, trying to connect people with one another or with the right resources so that we can all be successful. So hoping to bring kind of that passion, that background, and then my network I've built over the last, 10, 15 odd years in public service to try to help you all within your communities or at the state level. So very excited. I know I'll be getting to know you all in the future, but if you ever have any questions, comments, thoughts, whatever, I'm also I love getting out of Des Moines, out of the office and visiting. So if you have any events or anything cool coming up, definitely let me know. I'll try to make it.
Thanks, Joe. Let's do this quickly. I'm going to go ahead and just call on people. If you could introduce yourself, say where you are, and maybe just how long you've been working with 21st Century. And I'll just call on folks to make it quick. Let's start with Kristen.
Hi, Kristen Clayton with Oak Ridge Neighborhood. And I'm actually just kind of on the billing financial side of things, but I always hear something in these meetings that is helpful for me. So I continue to participate when I can.
Fantastic. We love having business office people in the meetings. That's great. How about Amy?
Amy Whittington. I'm the pre-K 6 principal at Central Decatur, and this is our fourth grant cycle. We've had a couple different coalitions, and that this year we're on our own, and we're back in year one of a new grant cycle. So excited to welcome you to after school work, Joe.
Amy. Abby.
Abby Kempema, and I am from Beyond the Bell in Sioux City, Iowa, and I have been with Beyond the Bell and working in 21st Century for almost 14 years.
Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jackie Delaney. I'm with Andrew Community School, and I've been doing the after-school program for 4 years now.
Thanks, Jackie. And Wes?
Hi, I'm Wes McGraw. This is my second year doing the after-school program. I'm at Central Lee Community School District.
Wes. And Jenna.
Good morning. I'm Jenna Andrews. I'm also with Beyond the Bell out of Sioux City. And I have been in the after-school world for actually my 12-year anniversary is coming up on April Fool's Day.
Fitting.
Yeah.
Lynn.
Hi, Lynn Redenbaugh from Storm Lake. I'm the program director for our pre-K through 8 before and after school programs, and I have been with 21st Century since 2000.
Wow, longer than me even. That's
so
really
right
long.
after they were issued at the federal level. Yeah.
Cool. Katie.
Hi, Katie Boatwright. I am with Fairfield Community School District. I'm the director of before and after school programming, and this is my 7th year with the program.
Great. Brianna.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I am in my 2nd year with Youthport, a community organization in Cedar Rapids.
Thanks, Brianna. Next I have Jason.
Hey, good morning. I'm Jason Allen. I have been with 21st Century. This is my 3rd year. I kind of work in a more of an admin role, but our director will be on, I should say our coordinator will be on soon. And of course, Heidi was the person that helped to lead and to organize and get this thing going in Des Moines Public Schools.
Thanks, Jason. George, I have next.
George Phillips with the Boys and Girls Club of the Cedar Valley. I guess I've been working with after school and 21st Century for about 5 years total, 2 years as a club director, and then now about 2.5 years as a administrative director with the Boys and Girls Club here.
Great, thanks, George. I have Bailey.
Hey, good morning. Bailey Moore, Boys and Girls Clubs of the Cedar Valley here in Waterloo. I am the Director of Operations. I've been involved with 21st Century for about 4 years now, since I started with the program.
Great, thanks. Sam.
I'm Sam Gravy. I'm the elementary principal at Audubon Schools. We've been with the 21st Century Grant for 8 years now, and we're in our 2nd cycle for for the grant. So it's been really good for our small community.
Thanks, Sam. Keely, I have next.
Hi, Keely Schaffner. I was a community partner in 2018, and I have been a part of Fort Madison Community Schools as their director for 2 years.
Thanks, Keely. Let's see, Billy. Hi, Billy.
Good morning. I'm Billy Stone with Oak Ridge Neighborhood Services, Education Coordinator, and I have been with the 21st Century for maybe about 7 or 8 years.
Ashley Williams.
I'm Ashley Williams with Des Moines Public Schools, and I'm on the accounting side, and I've been working with 21st Century about 4 years.
Thanks, Ashley. I have Jacqueline.
Hi, I went for Jackie.
Hi, Jacqueline. Thanks. And that's funny. Sorry. Madeline.
Hi, so I'm Madeline. I work in the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Iowa. I'm their grants and data coordinator, and I'll be doing 21st Century coming on my first year this May. So
Thanks. Great, great. And I think Andrea, is that you?
Yes, this is Andrea Ryder, and I am at the Easton Valley 21st Century program. This is our 4th year doing it.
Wonderful, thanks. I think we got everybody except for Tim. Tim, do you want to come off mute and say hi?
Hello, my name's Tim Glenn. I'm an administrative consultant for the Department of Education, filling in, trying to fill in for Vic until we get Joe hired. We're real excited about having Joe, and I've told him how what a great group 21st Century people are, and I told him that get ready for enthusiasm, because not a lot of title programs get the enthusiasm like 21st Century. So I know he's going to hit the ground running, and I really expect good things from him. If anybody ever needs to reach out to me, please don't hesitate. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. And you guys all know me. I'm Heidi Brown, Director of Iowa After School Alliance. I've been with 21st Century as a grant coordinator, as a grants director for 19 years, and now in this role supporting all of you guys for the last 2.5. And so great. I think we got everyone. If you didn't put your name and cohort in the chat, if you could do that at some point, that would be really helpful. Otherwise, I think I'm going to go ahead and get our agenda up here on the screen. Let's see. So we've got a few things to cover today on the agenda. Joe and Tim, please feel free to interrupt me at any point. And also grantees, if you have questions, please feel free to come off mute or drop questions in the chat. I'll try to monitor that too as we're talking. First thing on the list are Q4 budgets. So now is the time that you really should be looking at your budgets for the rest of the year, making sure that you have a plan to spend down your funds for this fiscal year. This is the time that you should be looking at your line items. So if there are lines where you have funds that you would like to move into other lines, this is a reminder that you are able to do that up to 10% of those lines without approval. But when you get over 10%, that's when you're going to be needing to reach out to Joe to request approval to move money. Another reminder that your professional development line is static, so you are not able to move money out of that PD line. You really want to make sure that you're spending your professional development dollars on PD. And I'm going to let maybe Tim and Joe, if you guys want to pop off mute just for a second, I've got an item on here that says summer programs to spend additional funds. If you do have some additional funds, summer programming can be allowable. And I'll just be quiet. And if you guys have anything you want to say real quick about that, that'd be great.
Yes, we have talked to our program director in DC, and she said that summer programs are a good way to spend down funds that won't be expended anyway. So if any programs want to have a summer program this year, please get a hold of Joe and I, and we can discuss it and just make sure that it's a good program for all your students. So we won't need a official amendment, but we can approve something like that. So please reach out if you have plans or if you just want to talk about summer programming.
And just to head off any questions for you, Tim, do those summer programs have to adhere to a summer program standard for 21st century? Do they have to be 30 days? Do they have to provide food, etc.? Or can it be a little looser?
It does not have to be 30 days. We do like to see the students get fed, especially if there's going to be there for any length of time. And transportation is another thing that you'll want to consider if you're planning a summer program. So yeah, if anybody is thinking about that, please reach out and we can find out what you're doing. We can give our input, and if we need to, we can reach out to our program officer in DC.
Great. And there is a question in the chat from Lynn. Are we still able to request carryover from this to next year? In previous years, Joe, carryover could be requested if folks were in the first year of their grant, or if there was something outside of the realm of kind of a normal thing that would happen in the year. Like, for example, if, when we had that derecho and there's floods and we can't get folks into programming, etc., then a carryover request could have been provided at that time. If folks are interested in asking for a carryover, how would you like them to proceed on that?
I think that they need to send us an email, Joe and I, and we can go ahead and follow up with any requests. This has always been a little bit different from some other title programs as far as carryover. So I think that we need to discuss this with you, Heidi. I guess I didn't realize that there was a restriction on only the first year grant using carryover. So
yeah, I know that Vic has approved it in the past, but definitely with some conversation about, having documentation about why and that type of thing.
Yes, and I do appreciate that Vic was trying to move money to programs that need it from programs that maybe weren't going to. So I do understand why you follow that process, but it may be something that we need to look at a little bit deeper as far as carryover. But yes, please send your request to us.
Yep, I was going to say the same thing. I would say just send an email to both Tim and I, and then try to provide as much detail as possible, why you're asking for it, what occurred, that sort of stuff, and then we'll run it up the chain to see. Yep, and get back to you as quick as we can.
Any other questions about fourth quarter budgets, line item transfer requests, summer programs that you might want to try to do with additional funds? Any questions or comments about that? Just give it a moment in case somebody has one. Okay, if you are intending to do a summer program this year, then you should provide those details to Joe in an email. And so you would want to let him know your dates, times for that program, and the location of your summer program. And thanks, Joe just threw his email in the chat and phone number too. Oh, nice. And it's the same as Vic's old phone number. So all we have to do is change the name in our in our cells. So I know a couple of you have already sent over your summer program details, but just make sure that you do that. Communicate that with him. All right, the next piece of information is APR. I know that just a couple of weeks ago, everyone finished getting their documentation into the system. I'm going to turn it over to Tim if there's anything that you wanted to add on APR.
No, we were able to, Joe was able to certify on the certification date. So we appreciate everybody's work in getting everything submitted and entered and submitted on time. So thank you for that. Joe and I are both new at the data certification. So I think that we are looking forward to talking with our program officer, seeing if there's any suggestions they have for maybe improving, I don't know, some of the narratives maybe that were placed into 21 APR. So I really do appreciate everybody's attention to the deadline. We had some data that needed to be maybe revised and everything and resubmitted, so everybody got it in on a good time. So thank you to everybody for your help with the data collection. Did you have any remarks on that, Joe?
I don't think so. So I'm a bit of a data geek. I like data and going through data. I know it can be a kind of a time suck for trying to get everything submitted. But it's so, and I know we're going to talk a little bit, I think, about the surveys, but that information is so critically important when we're fielding questions at the state level about the importance and value of your programs. So having the most accurate and relevant information that we can back up with the general claims about how important after-school programs are. Some people just want to see the data. So if we don't have if we don't have all the data, we have an incomplete picture. It makes our lives a little bit more difficult if we're trying to prove the value or trying to find additional funding or sponsorship, that sort of stuff. So I really appreciate everybody taking time to get that done and providing as much information as you can. Because we do use that information, I can tell you that. So particularly during the legislative sessions when we get requests for information, or if our director reaches out with information, it's nice to be able to quickly and easily be able to dig into that data and drill down and provide some context and some ammunition to some of the claims that we're making about the benefit and value of your programs.
And you made mention to the end of your survey as well. I just want to congratulate everyone. We ended up getting everyone's data into the end of your survey, which is fantastic. And so we'll be able to use that for our statewide evaluation as well. I know sometimes it can feel a little bit redundant, but that's something that's been really helpful, I know, to Vic in the past and to Ron and Rusty in the past when they're creating that really nice statewide evaluation document. So thank you for taking the time to do that. And I know, and it is time consuming. So I appreciate everyone's attention to that. Okay, any questions at all about APR data collection or anything like that? I'll say additionally, if you are someone who is interested in evaluation, if you're new or if you're not new, but you are interested and you'd like to join the evaluation committee, we'll be meeting next week actually with that committee, and it's really it's a really good committee to be on. They do a lot of good work and really dig into the data and the data collection, the evaluation. So if you don't have anyone from your cohort on the evaluation committee, it's a great one to be a part of. We will also have dates for upcoming APR for you as well for next time. I don't have those right now, but it's no time soon. So we'll share that with you when I have it. Any questions or comments about that? Okay, speaking of committees, we are seeking a chair for the Communications, Sustainability, and Partnerships Committee. We are also seeking a chair for the Professional Development Committee. Cassie was chair of that committee for a really long time. And as you all know, she's since moved on to a different role with Conscious Discipline. So we're hoping to fill that spot. We also really want the directors to review the purpose and action items for the communities of practice in the coming months. Now that Joe's here, and it's just a really good time to review those. Grantees can provide feedback about if those committees are really working for you in the iteration that they're in. Do we need to change goals? Do we need to be more action oriented? Just really looking for feedback from you about what's going to be really beneficial. I think Joe has shared in check-ins with me that it's not ideal to meet just to meet. So let's make sure that these are working for you and that you want to come and that you want to spend the hour in that because you're walking away with something meaningful. So I know that you might not necessarily have any feedback right this minute, but I would love to hear, and I know Joe would too, if you have any thoughts or opinions on any of the committees really, and what your ideas are, or if you just agree with that, or if you think that they're great the way they are, we'd love to hear that now. So please, if you would mind, come off mute. Let's have a little bit of a discussion, even if it's just to say, yes, I think we should review and revamp. We'd love to hear your voice. You guys know I can sit here all day, so come on.
Okay, I'll take one for the team. And really, I'll just say, I mean, I think they're worth looking at to see maybe how we can improve them. They're not like I'm not saying that I think that they are useless in any way, but I do think that they could be maybe a little more intentional for sure. How we get there, I don't have that answer today, but that's just kind of my general thought on them.
Thanks, Jenna. Somebody else was going to speak up.
I do agree. I've been on the evaluation committee at different times throughout the years, and I know that committee worked to try to streamline the annual report and different features. But I would echo the idea, maybe it's the frequency of the committees and how often they meet. Like maybe that's a starting place to think about how often do those committees and communities need to get together.
Okay.
I'd say just to echo that last comment by Amy, just also the consistency of those meetings. I know, it's hard when we don't have a chairperson in every single committee to be able to get those committees to kind of run effectively and efficiently. So just trying to become more consistent. Maybe that does have to do with frequency and making sure that I guess the date and time each month work for people. But I do think the committees are very beneficial and you can get a lot out of them. Just takes that participation and being a willing listener also.
Hi, this is Billy. I agree with you very much, Bailey. I think in lieu of what's going on now with the Department of Education, the United States, US, I think that these are great committees to make sure that we can brush up on what we need to do and follow the rules and regs. So these are very important. And I do think that we should meet, maybe not all, every month, but as needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have suggestions or feedback on I guess who should be a part of these committees? Should we relook at making sure everybody is on one? It seems very difficult to find chairs and co-chairs sometimes, which makes perfect sense because everyone is really busy. Should we look at it just being like you serve as a chair for a year and then, the next person comes on? That's just an idea. Does anyone have any ideas around how to make that a little more attractive to folks to step into those leadership roles or making sure that they're having attendance and that type of thing?
Heidi, I think it's kind of hard to make these roles attractive. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's just so much information that you have to have with each one of those committees. You have to follow a certain streamline of procedures that we have to do. And with current jobs that many of us have,
yeah,
I think we just don't have that time, unfortunately, and that connectability with other folks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to say I also agree with kind of what Billy and everybody's saying. Sometimes, I've been in a few meetings and then there's been a bunch that have been kind of canceled. And so like for myself, I kind of need to kind of have some experience and kind of learn how things should flow and go before I know I can commit to something.
I forgot about the
I
21st
really would like
century
to understand it.
directors meeting.
I'm sorry.
No,
Just
that's okay. Keep
understand
going,
how
George.
things are flowing. And I would feel more comfortable with maybe even stepping up into one of those roles in a later time period. But for now, I myself personally don't feel comfortable because I'm not really understanding the flow of all the meetings. And then, like it's been said, like the commitment and the consistency of those meetings.
Thank you. Well, please think about it. And I know Joe and I would really appreciate your feedback on that. And I think, now is the opportunity for us to really take stock of whether the way they are is working for us, or if we need to, make some changes to those, and maybe make them more action focused, and maybe, make it so that committees are doing things that are benefiting the rest of the 21st Century Network and what that might look like. These are just ideas that I've had, but I've had more time to think about it than you because we're just asking you right now. So think about it, and don't feel like you need to be constrained to the way that we've always done it. I think that, I think Joe for sure would be open to hearing, new ideas and kind of new ways of doing things. So think about it, please.
Can I just put in my 2 cents? My experience with other grants, there's nothing like this community of practice that you all have set up. And from our perspective, it's a wonderful thing. I can understand how things might have gotten kind of, I don't want to use the word stagnant, but kind of the same. So I really appreciate everybody throwing out some new ideas for this because keeping it current and useful for you, that is the huge part. But from the state's perspective, we really, really enjoyed the grantees getting together and, making this program your own. And even though it is extra work, it's very appreciated by us. So I just, for whatever that's worth, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, and I was just going to ask for kind of some of the other groups I've worked with, if we have committees, those members put that like on their LinkedIn profile or their resume, and we can maybe look at doing something a bit more official with that, or looking at how other states or handle some of their committees, and maybe even connecting you with those chairs. So again, you kind of, there's some sort of benefit in there. I know that's more meetings and potentially more stuff, but if there are other ways, I know, like I said, is sort of like an incentive. It's nice to be able to say that you were the chair of this committee. And then we back that up at the Department of Ed or at IAA. We can somehow maybe formalize that. But if there's interest in that, definitely let us know. It might be something we can kind of run down.
I have an idea that's been bouncing around in my head regarding some of these committee meetings, is that it'd be really nice to have some type of meeting like on a monthly basis that's like a best practices type committee meeting where everybody's invited, and it would be like a different site would host that meeting each month. And so then you would have the opportunity to see what someone else is doing really well and that they're excited about. And so like if someone's like, I really like this special parent engagement event that we're doing, and then they would talk about like how they planned this parent engagement night, how it like worked and operated, and it would give other people the opportunity to like ask questions about how they set it up or how they did it really well. And then as opposed to like having a chair of best practices, you would have like each month would be someone else's turn to be the chair. And I don't know if that's something other people would be interested in, but I know like when I first started, that would have been so helpful to get more ideas of what other people are doing and what's successful. And whenever we would go to the conference, I would hear about those ideas and those best practices. But it would be nice, like on a monthly basis, if there was something that people were doing, and it would give us the idea of like, okay, let's try to replicate that 6 or 9 months from now.
Great idea.
Just my 2 cents, it seems like monthly is really hard to meet. I wonder if that could be done quarterly, and then you just divide that up among 3 teams to share each quarter or something like that. So that you could say, all right, we're going to meet just 4 times a year, but each of those 4 times 3 different groups will share out. Just a thought.
And everybody gets 20 minutes to do their presentation or something like that, Sam? Is that what you're thinking? Yeah.
Maybe like a lunch and learn model for special topics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. These are great ideas.
I loved Lunch and Learn series when I was part of Young Professionals. So I think like a Lunch and Learn type thing would be really fun to do.
This doesn't necessarily revolve around meetings, but I even think, different 21st century organizations hosting tours at some point. I know that's really hard, kids and program days and things like that can be really unpredictable, but I at least know for our community, when we have our different foundations come through and they tour some of the different programs that we're really excited about, it also helps bring that community connection, gives a little more awareness to what's actually going on. And I don't know, just kind of helps open other people's eyes to those things. I think about Boys and Girls Club of America, and some of the conferences that we attend are hosted in cities that have club organizations, and you can tour those and kind of get those best practices, ideas for new programs, new ways to do things from other organizations. I think it's a great thing. I do recognize though that it's very, very hard to host a group and also run programs at the same time though.
No, but you're right, Bailey. It's so wonderful. I don't know. I mean, I know there's lots of people on here who have been around long enough to remember when we used to do site visits during the Impact After School Conference. And I know we got away from that. We're actually thinking about trying to bring it back this year. And that was always really, really beneficial for people just to be in somebody else's space and like get an idea, be inspired by something that somebody else is doing. So I appreciate you saying that a lot. All right. Well, I think we can move on from this now, but I'm glad that the thoughts are happening, and let's keep talking about it and really make it work for you guys. Speaking of conference, we haven't put out an official save the date yet, but it's coming next week after I tour the venue, and it will be September 24 and 25th this year. So if you want to put it on your calendar, if you have ideas for or for the Impact After School Conference, please, please, please come to the Professional Development Committee meeting. You don't have to come for every single PD committee meeting for the whole year. You could just come while we're getting ready for the conference. That's wonderful. That is so helpful, especially for me and Adriana right now, since we don't have a chairperson for that committee. We'll be acting as chairs for that as we're getting ready for the conference, but I'm really excited about some of the things that we have in mind and to do, and would love to have you guys, anybody that's interested, or if you have staff that really love to plan events or have great creative ideas about events, we'd love to have them on that committee for the next few months while we're getting ready for that conference in September. It will be in Des Moines. I know that's always been a conversation that we've had, is can we have it maybe somewhere else in the state? We have it in Des Moines because it's the most convenient for everyone to get to. I know that for those of you on the edges of the state, it's a drive, but imagine how much of a drive it would be if we had it on the other end of the state. So we have it in the middle, and it will be again this year. Remember that attendance at this conference is mandatory. So every grantee needs to send representation to the conference. If you have lots and lots of cohorts, if you're running 5 cohorts of grants, then you need to be sending a larger contingency from your site. If you just have one, then maybe you're just sending 1 or 2 people, and that's fine. We will open registration soon. So if you've got professional development dollars from this fiscal year that you would like to spend on registrations for the conference, you can do that. If you're kind of tapped out on your PD dollars for this year, then it'll be open and you can make those registrations on July 1st for next year. Keely, yeah, you've got a question.
Yeah, so you said it was September 24th and 25th.
That's right.
In the past, it's been the Thursday, Friday.
That's
so
right.
Is it starting like Wednesday morning, or is
No.
it Wednesday afternoon?
No, thank you so much for bringing that up. It was on my mind to talk about. We're going to do it a little bit differently this year. We're looking at a Wednesday afternoon. We won't start until Wednesday afternoon. And so we'll have a Wednesday afternoon session, most likely for directors, like we've done in the past, for those of you that would have remembered that. I'm hoping, based on, I'm not going to promise this because it's really based on funding and all that kind of jazz, but we'd love to do a reception that evening early. And then the day of the 25th, which would be Thursday, would be our full conference day. And then folks would be, if you needed to travel, you'd be back on the road by about 4 o'clock. So you'll be out, just depending on who you are and where you're coming from and all that kind of jazz, you may only miss 1 day of programming. We just got a lot of feedback that it's so hard to be away from programs, and it's hard to be away from kids, and we get it. So that's kind of how we're trying to work around that and do things a little bit differently this year, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe people will love it and this is how we'll do it from now on, or maybe people will say, we'd really like the Thursday, Friday back, and then we'll figure that out and be flexible accordingly.
Heidi, I'm sorry if I missed it. When are the planning meetings? Did that? go
We'll
ahead?
plan for these at our professional development meeting, or committee
Okay.
meetings. And so April 4, next Friday, is a meeting for that. And it's the same Zoom that you use for all the communities of practice. So if
Okay.
you find that you're free and you want to jump on, we will be there. And just for those of you that might not know, what we do at those meetings is we talk about, of course, planning for the conference, but these are also the folks who will look at the proposals that come in, and vet them, and go through the list of vendors and make decisions about who we want to have present, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really cool, and you really have a lot of say in what we do. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think we are moving on to Department of Ed updates. So I'll stop talking a little bit and let Joe talk. And then Joe, if you want me to, I can share the survey that you created.
Okay. Yeah, so a couple of updates. There was an email that went out last week, kind of late last week, from our director to the superintendents across the state. And some of you have maybe heard about this, but it was an email outlining how Governor Reynolds sent a waiver request to the Federal Department of Education, USED, essentially of how the state of Iowa proposes using federal funds, including the Title IV, the 21st century stuff. We don't know all the specifics, and it's just a waiver request that we don't believe has been approved yet. But I wanted to just let you know that there was an email that went out in case you've heard things. And essentially, the general idea was trying to get more flexibility for how we handle federal funds within the state of Iowa. And again, we don't necessarily know all the specifics or if it will happen, but it's kind of leading to this conversation of, well, what would we want to do in Iowa if we had more flexibility? So I created a very basic survey here, and yeah, Heidi, if you want to click on it, that's fine. But if we were to be granted a waiver, or if federal things change, because there's lots of kind of questions going on at the federal level, and it seems like a leaning towards a direction of more state control, more kind of local control of federal programs. What would things look like? Kind of what is the wish list of your programs of, it'd be great if X, Y, and Z were gone, or if we could do this. So again, I created this very basic, informal, and anonymous, I might add, survey just to try to gather feedback, with, again, potentially changes at the federal level, but also just being new to the program and coming in and maybe having different ideas, and trying to kind of look at not necessarily what's wrong with the current program, but what are some things we wanted to do, or some new ideas like the Lunch and Learns, or like the new programs, or whatever. So again, I created this very basic survey if anybody wanted to provide some feedback, kind of the top 3, what is on your wish list? It'd be great if we could do this. So again, I wish I had more details about what's kind of transpiring at the federal level, but I wanted to just kind of put out there that there was an email from our director last week to the superintendents about kind of saying that we might be having more local control in the near future. So I'm happy to answer questions. But again, I'm trying to look at, if we did get more state control, what are some big things we could do, or some changes that we could make to make things better and to support you all better. So are there any questions, thoughts, comments?
Thanks for that, Joe, and that's really helpful, especially for you guys. If your superintendent comes to you and says, "Hey, I got this email," now you have a little bit of context to share, with them too. I did put the link to that quick survey in the chat, and it's also included in the agenda from today too. If you only have two things, they can just put two things, right? They don't have to
Yep.
fill out every single every
Yep.
single
No,
line.
there's no required fields, no email tracking, none of that. It's anonymous. So, and
Oh, and it's
you know,
anonymous, so you can be
I'm
really honest.
Yep. You can be honest. I'm a big guy. I understand it. You can beat up the program. You can beat up the Department of Ed. That's completely fine, as long as we're not getting too nasty. But yeah, like I said, being new, just coming in, just trying to kind of get a feel for kind of how things are going, right? Kind of gauging that temperature, as well as the potential for making some changes with some of the federal stuff going on. So yeah, appreciate anything you
cool.
can offer.
Really great. And
And
Joe
if I
asked,
could just,
go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No,
No,
go ahead.
no.
I'm
You
sorry,
go.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just
Nope.
wanted to throw out that the claims, third quarter claims window is opening on Tuesday, April 1st, until April 30th. So, this will be Joe's, he'll be getting trained on the allowable uses and, reading the general ledgers and things like that. So, I know it's not always possible, but, the earlier that those claims can be submitted, the sooner that we can get to review them and send them back if there's any issues with them or so. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're reaching the end of the agenda. I think we made pretty good time, actually. Just to reiterate, we do have a couple of meetings coming up. Evaluation, Community of Practice is April 1st. I know Caitlin has already sent the folks on that committee an email with an agenda on there. If that's something that you want to be part of now after having spoken today, you just let me know, or you can let Caitlin Schmidt know too, and she'll add you. And then our professional development meeting where we'll start talking about impact, and kind of an exciting one because we will have made a decision on the venue, and we'll be talking to folks about that on next Friday. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I'm going to leave it open for questions from grantees. I'll keep recording for just a couple of minutes, but just like we normally do, then I'll shut the recording off. So if you have a question that you'd rather not have recorded, you can just hang on for a second and then you can ask it then. But for the sake of everyone and potentially folks that aren't here, does anyone have any questions now that might benefit the group? All right. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.